It says AI features enabled, but it's letting me tab between fields. I haven't tried to turn anything off yet, so we'll just kind of leave that alone and worry about that later. Zoom has this wonderful AI new feature. I don't know if you want to call them a new set of options and that kind of stuff, but they kind of sprung it on us screen reader users last year for everyone in the room. So it really changes the navigability of the whole Zoom experience. It really hampers it. So if you're ever meeting with someone who's using a screen reader in this kind of setting, you'll want to disable your AI features until they get in the room and get themselves set up before you start turning on the AI recorders if you have to.
Yeah, we learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
It was that we're running. Um, it was in the fall of 2025, right? Just right at the end of, and we teach a couple of courses at SAID, and one of them was a capstone really for UX designers. And in this capstone, we have it's 6 weeks. And like, dude, this guy's selling so fast. Not even, it hasn't even been 3 minutes. He's already selling the course. I'm not selling, I'm just really telling you the story. But right, it's like, wow. So we were in part of this capstone, it's called the Accelerator Program, and we also have a boot camp. Anyway, we SAID finds clients and we interview them the first night, and we ask them questions. The clients, they pitch their problem, and then we ask them questions, and then we put together squads, and then these teams, they have 6 weeks to work through a problem. But that day, the first day where we have all the clients, and we had a lot too, like 9 clients, I think,
Yeah.
and Scott can't get in. Right. And then I'm like emailing him, like I'm listening to one of the clients, do their pitch. And then on the other side, I'm trying to get emailing Scott, like, what's going on? It's like, oh, it's not letting me, I can't speak. I can't do this. Back to Scott, oh, it was so stressful. I think I was stressed out for 20 minutes, non-stop, until we figure out we were recording the session, and that recording was not allowing Scott to talk. Right?
Yeah. So all your buttons are here, right? Your mute, your turn your video on and off, but they're not clickable because the AI has overlaid the Zoom experience.
Something so simple. So imagine how
Yeah.
that failed from the start. Scott didn't know anything. Like no, we none of us knew, right? And then it was straight 20 minutes of stress. And then, oh my God, I remember talking to the host. It's like, hey, can you turn this off? Can you do this? Can you do that? And then we finally figure out, but we have to stop the recording. And then Scott was able to jump in, and that's how I think we catch like the last four
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah. It was quite
But
the adventure, and it just like speaks to the whole some kind of change in process that someone doesn't think about when they're building how it's going to impact not just the majority of users, right? So I'm going to segue into that. This is obviously a safe space because we're talking about weird, unique things, and any questions slash comments you might have, Louis and I and Luis will not be offended. We've kind of set this up as sort of an ask anything kind of segment to just kind of talk through some of the weird, funky things that take place in the world of digital accessibility or, accessibility overall in general and how non-inclusive it can make people feel, even if it's done totally unintentionally.
and thanks for that, Scott. By the way, I do have a few starter questions, right? Just in case you're like, I don't know what to ask. So I have a few conversation starters that might help us. I will also share with you how we build this, because I mean it's part of the thing, just in case you're interested, right? Like, hey, how does this work? But before I get to that, yes, related to the safe space, that's kind of important. Actually, after having worked with Scott for close to a year now,
Almost a year now, yeah.
yeah, it's for me personally, it's freeing being able to know that I will say weird things or dumb things, and he's not going to judge me, right? I'll say like something really obvious, right? Like pointing out, like, "Hey, Scott, well, can you see that in here?" And like, dude, really? It's like, "Oh yeah, right." Things like that, and that's one amazing thing about the like people uh, like God, right? Their reality, the way that they live life is completely different. So they're probably the least the people who will get the least offended easily. Actually, he's very fun to work with. He'll crack jokes. And from other books that I've read so far, too, people who are in the community, uh, they have to deal with a lot of humor because that's the only way to go through life. And then they help each other out, and they're very supportive, and they're very so. I really enjoy having working with you, Scott. In case I've never told you this, but I think I have.
Yeah,
Right?
I seem to recollect. I think it's like a mutual partnership, guys, to
Yeah,
be honest. We just kind of hang out and we laugh at each other. We both use the whole self-deprecating humor thing all the time because sometimes you just encounter things that are so way out there that only thing you can do in the moment is laugh, right? Otherwise, it's just going to drive you crazy. And, um, you got to figure out a solution, whether it's something small like making a Zoom meeting work or whether it's trying to fill out a form on a website that may not be so simple. So, um, yeah, it's always cool to share. So, thanks everyone for joining. You are welcome to come off mute and ask a question as well. Um, but if you're more comfortable putting something in the chat space, we're okay with that too.
yeah. And I'm gonna share my screen just to get you as if some of you are thinking because this is an ask me anything. I'm gonna share. Can you see my screen? I'm sharing my screen, and I'm looking at you, Scott. Can you see my screen? Like,
Yep.
dude, really? We went through this already like 15 times.
It says you're screen sharing, so hopefully all is
See,
working
there
well
we
for the
go.
sighted humans.
So you do know that I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah,
Or that's a good system, right? If you tell you, hey, someone is doing something.
yeah. A little more interactive than just nothing being read out to you.
Yeah. And that's a basic of interaction, right? I mean, the fact that it's a visual confirmation, but there's an audio confirmation. There's multiple feedback loops. Well, so this is the presentation that Scott and I worked on for this session. And so I'm on the first screen. And when I wrote the notes on this one, I sent it to Scott so that he could review it. And now that's the question. Well, how did you review it, Scott? So let's start with the most dumb question. Hey, how do you work together on a presentation? Right? I mean,
So there's lots of ways you can collaborate, but the easiest way that Loui and I picked for this and a couple of other presentations we've done is to just do things in Word because it's accessible for most people, right? The structure of the documents is easy to follow. You can edit without breaking a bunch of things. You don't need to know like a 12 key command structure to be able to edit something like you do in PowerPoint and Google Docs sometimes. So, you know what? Sometimes the older slash, technology can be better to do this kind of work. So, um, if you come to our presentation at Calgary UX, or you sign up for our digital accessibility course with SATE, you will learn much more about these sorts of things. So there's your first carrot of the evening. There'll probably be a few more.
yeah, the PowerPoint doesn't work for, it's not accessible. So if you send a PowerPoint to someone thinking, well, he has a screen reader. And we've heard that before, right, Scott?
Yes.
Boy, that was a wow, really? Um, moment.
Yeah,
So, so that's another thing that I would say. If you don't know how things work, seriously, a great way to do it is ask, hey, can you see
exactly.
this? Does this work for you?
Yeah.
How is this working for you? So asking questions, right? I mean, just especially if you're in design, that's the whole thing. It's ask good questions. Um, But yeah, so PowerPoint is not accessible. And what I'm doing now, Scott, just to share a bit of how this works, I so I have a full screen mode, and in Word, there's a Word when I have the Word interface in front of me, and it has all these buttons, and people can see my entire screen now. It has this button called Focus, and once I press that focus mode, it's very neat because it hides all the interface and it just shows the page. This is what I'm going to do for our talk at Calgary UX camp. Just in
I
case
think
you're
that's a
like,
good
oh,
way.
the
That's
people
a good way.
see all the buttons. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to get rid of all the clutter,
Right?
right? If it
Yeah.
doesn't if it doesn't impact their journey, like why you know have them no need for their mind to wander, right? Like, hey, here's the important three things we're going to talk about on this page, as opposed to, oh, look at all these cool buttons. I wonder what they do.
hmm So I'm showing now a screen, the part of the screen where I have the Ask Me Anything About Accessibility. It has Scott's photo and a blurb. Now, one thing in case you, and I'm getting to the question, but you guys should throw your questions in here, or feel free to, like, where are they going to show up? We're just warming up, and then throw your questions. The one thing I'm gonna turn this off for a bit just to show you, but Word has an interesting feature called alt text now, and it allows you to add. Of course, it has a generate AI. That was really dumb, by the way. It was like
Yeah, it is.
person smiling. That was it. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
That's
that
not
doesn't
Scott. I
help.
mean, he is smiling, but
But how
right,
descriptive is that, right? Like, did you give enough information? Anybody can smile. Tell us
exactly,
something about them. So
exactly.
there is one of the many shortcomings of AI in the world of accessibility, friends. Well, that's not the only area it falls short, but for our purposes tonight, this is kind of one of the areas that you'll hear about that it doesn't do very well.
Exactly. So you're able to, if you're going to work in any presentation with someone who has a screen reader, Word works really well. Which is really weird to say that, but you can change the color of the page, which I did. You can format it so that it looks decent as a presentation, and then you can send it off to people who use a screen reader so they can participate as well. Right. So that's the whole idea. We build this presentation together. All right. So then I'm just going to show mine. I'm just on the third page where I'm just showing, ask me anything about accessibility. I don't know if do you want me to introduce you, Scott? Because they're like, who's this guy? Where should I talk? Should we listen to him?
Go ahead, my friend. You
All right.
got it. We wrote it all together, so you read it because otherwise, if I read it, it'll be all disjointed.
Okay. So, and then after these introductions, I have a few slides with a few burner starter questions, but feel free to interrupt me at any point and just throw a question. But yeah, so Scott, he's an expert on on technology. He's an expert. Oh man, I have to rewrite that. I wrote that, by the way. I have to rewrite it. I just noticed an issue. He's an expert in accessible design and development, accessibility standards, including WCAG. Now you're going to hear WCAG. Quick question, Scott, for you. How do you pronounce WCAG?
So it is the acronym is really WCAG. So you want to say WCAG, which is Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And for anybody that does any work in accessibility or content or development or design, you're going to find that this is part of your day to day, right? If it isn't now, it's going to be because things are changing around the world, right? So it's something that is ever changing, and it's really a guideline, a set of guidelines that has been kind of adopted around the world by many different organizations and countries and big companies to help you build things that are accessible and usable. So it's just not ticking a checkbox, right? It's actually making something that is actually going to be workable for people who are not your average everyday users.
Oh, okay. All right. I see a question from Theodosia. If I destroyed your name, I'm very sorry. Feel free to unmute it.
You actually said it perfectly.
No
The
way.
screen reader did too, which is even more shocking than human pronunciation. So
What?
yeah,
I never get that. Oh man. Well, that's great. So let me
a small win.
yeah, we I'll take it.
Yeah, me too.
So her question, and sorry if it's so Tadoshes, and so I am a UX content coordinator. My question is, how do you advocate for accessibility at work? A common issue I see is text and images and PDFs that are so stylized that they're basically images.
Yeah, that's a good question because it's important to provide that description of whatever the content is, right? Whether it's in a PDF or on a website or in an email, for example, right? Maybe there's an icon that you need to do a script, write up a description for in alt text. Um, there's a couple of ways you can attack this, um, depending on how far down the road accessibility is with other parts of your company. You can kind of talk about the benefit of making it accessible for all your users, um, and then even tie it into the fact if you're in an e-commerce setting or that kind of stuff. Hey, guess what? If you include the 20% of the world that are disabled and build things that are accessible for them, um, the bean counters of the world always love this, but this means you're going to make more money and increase your bottom line and your brand and your market share. And those things are all important. And that doesn't even talk about, doing the right thing for the right reasons, which we wish more companies would take more seriously and think about. But content is a great example of that, right? Some companies, it's built into their end-to-end process before something even gets put out on a web page, for example. It's checked and validated, um, ideally with a different group of humans other than just your prototypical users who can navigate, browsers and mobile devices without any technology. So it's those are kind of the top two. Loui, did you want to add on?
Yeah, and feel free to jump into Losha at any point. Like it's I mean, this is an Ask Me Anything, but we can turn this to a conversation. You can do follow-ups, there's no number of questions you can ask.
No.
There's a time, but we're into for another hour and 40 minutes. So feel free to ask and jump in at any time you want. I would say that this is one of the hardest questions. Um, one thing that I'm not going to sugarcoat it. One hard thing to do at work is, um, well, not at work, but I put it this way. I work with people who are really good at lean management. They were like really high up, great facilitators, like just really smart people. And one of them said to me once, a bad system will beat up a good person every single time. If you are that good person and then you're trying to advocate for something so big accessibility within the company, I know who I'm betting for. It's on the bad system, right? Because it's really hard. I mean, to put all of that weight on you to like try to change this massive thing. So the idea is like, well, how do you turn that around? And as Scott said, yeah, you can find someone, right? You can start with a person. You can start. Um, that's one way that I would do. Find a partner, right? So that it's not just the system against you, it's against two or three, but really start
Yeah.
with someone else.
Build
Actually,
your
hammering
village.
exactly.
One other thing I should add it to the top list is
Go ahead.
celebrate a small win, right? Like, say you build a PDF doc that is accessible, share it with your humans at your place, like a lunch and learn or on Slack or whatever, right? Hey, we took the time to build this accessible piece. It only took us 15 minutes longer, and here's the positive result, and here's some feedback from our users. So then that helps build momentum, and your village grows that much more quickly that way because people see the value.
Exactly. So, and that's where you can start winning, right? Beating this bad system. You find an advocate, great. If you're doing it alone, as Scott is right on the money, celebrate that small win. Hey, I built this PDF is accessible. Well, what do you mean it's accessible? What makes it accessible? Well, now we just increase our market share. More people can read it. More people can navigate through it easily. So that's where I would start. But I mean, the nice thing of PDFs, by the way, if we want to get technical, they can run OCR, optical character
Yep.
recognition. That's a technology from the 80s that
Hmm.
Microsoft came up with. It's not new. So you can run it and then you can show them like, hey, this is how it works. If you want to, if you have a Mac or a PC, you can download a screen reader and show them, like record a quick video of yourself going through it so that people know how it feels for someone else with a screen reader, how they can read the document. So you can slowly build this, but find people, and I would say as part of the this system, right? That's really hard, so that it's not you. Be very target who that person can be. If it's a decision maker, it's even better. If you build your village with someone who's in charge of finance, or they're in charge of market share, or they're in charge of communications or tracking metrics, like, hey, well, can we expand to this other area? How can this PDF help more people? How can more people benefit your company? Well, it could be more money, more engagement, more something. And that tends to get the ears. That might help you. But are we answering your question, or are we just
Yes,
in
you
it?
definitely answered my question. And I love the suggestion of just presenting what their webpage would look like with a screen reader, just so they know how, somebody using that assistive technology would interact with it. And just for a bit of
Yeah.
context, I work at a university and like my team, they're all for accessibility. It's just when we work with other departments, sometimes we'll run into issues and it's mainly because, they want it to look really nice, but sometimes when you approach things that way, it's not accessible.
Nope.
So just having like that back and forth conversation can be a little difficult, but I do like the strategy and I'll definitely try it of just showing them what the experience is like when you use accessibility technology.
And you don't really have to know how to use the screen reader. You can just do keyboard navigation if you want, right? Like arrow
Mhm.
around on a page or just tab and shift tab, right? That's a real simple way.
Yeah.
And you don't have to learn the whole command structure. Um, and it's a real simple way to just show somebody because
Hmm.
a lot of people aren't experienced screen reader users and other assistive technology users. So we have to, when we design these things, like we have to think about the experience for them, right? What if, for example, English is their second language, right?
Yeah.
What, this being a content human, but do we write this in grade 6 or 7 English so it's comprehensible for people? Or do we write it at a university level so we've already alienated half of our humans that are going to come on your website? Um, one of my pet peeves that I see all the time is why do you write in this? Because now you've made them reach out or just turn away from your website because they can't understand it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Let me. Can I share my screen then? So I'm gonna share my screen, and I like showing things too. I'm gonna share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it. Did you tell you, Scott, that I'm sharing my screen?
Finally, yeah, it took a minute.
Oh, has to go to space.
Yeah, it's got to
Back to
do
your
its
machine.
cloud thing or whatever.
All right. So there's one thing that also we would love if you walk out with more knowledge. I'm showing a PDF of the International Association of Accessibility Professionals. This is a body of knowledge. You can get certified. You can crush this document and get certified as an ally. Right now, this is a PDF that is. Um, Tell me, Scott, because we were looking at this about a year ago. I was. Do you remember this document?
Oh yeah, I've seen it since. It's a massive PDF, everyone. Um, I want to say 80 some odd pages, Louis, but I might be off on the numbers because it's been a bit, but um, very well
Nailed it.
structured, table of contents, specific chapters are like clickable. So I mean, it's very well designed. Uh,
Okay, I love that you just said that. It's very well designed. Does it matter to you how it looks?
it doesn't matter to me personally. However, I'm totally cognizant of the fact that it needs to be visually, aesthetically pleasing for everyone to engage with, right? It can't just be, I'm going to use a term that we talk about in our courses later, but a wall of text, right? Imagine 86 pages of just text. How would you feel about trying to engage with that and figure out what you're trying to search for? What if you're trying to study and you don't remember where you left off and like, it's just overwhelming at that point.
I love that you brought that up. So what I'm showing right now, and by the way, you were right on the money, it's 82 pages. Now, this PDF is formatted like whatever they use, and I think maybe I'll be able to figure out what they use here. I press Command D. They use Microsoft Word. That was the application that they used to build this. Now, what they're using is the technology's cascade style sheets. Basically, in Word, you have styles: heading, title, subtitle, heading 2, heading 3, body. If you do that, once you create your PDF, it will, and depending on how you export a PDF, you can build it with these bookmarks that you see on the right side. This is what's going to help with navigation. And this is something that will help Scott navigate, and myself, like it helps us both to realize, oh my God, there's a lot of content in here.
Yeah.
Well, what if I want to jump to like domain 2, distinguish between, well, I can jump to it, but Scott can do that as well. So this is the nice thing of there is, it's also well formatted. It has bold when it needs to be bold. We can read it, or I can read it. I mean, it's a lot of content, but the whole purpose of the document, you have to read it, right,
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
the
You
knowledge.
can't skip through to grow your knowledge that way. AI can't do it for you. You have to be human and absorb it.
Exactly. So you can see on the right side, I'm showing the panel on the right side where it reads bookmarks. And you can export this from Word. If you have the Adobe Acrobat Pro version, it connects with Word, and you can export that. You can say, hey, export my styles as bookmarks. If you don't have it, you can build them manually in Adobe Acrobat, but it takes a while. But it's so in case you ever wanted to, if you have to deal with a lot of content, and you're like, man, can I make this look good and usable for other people? Yeah, you can. It's doable. And like I said, if you want to learn more about them, yeah, just you can Google it on the International Association of Accessibility Professionals and download that, and it's an amazing document. You will learn a lot for free, even if you don't take the certification. These are one of the top tier bodies for professionals in accessibility. I'm going to stop sharing. So, how are we doing to the ocean? We good?
Yes.
Oh, I see more. You're walking away with more stuff for your team. You can make them work tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a special project for the rest of your week.
You can throw them under the bus. That guy said that.
Oh yeah. Throw us
Uh,
under the bus. It's all good.
so Leonie says, I see in the chat, so it's like you include the disabled people in the design of the product rather than trying to make it accessible with assistive technology later on. Exactly. Without trying to fix it later on. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a college student. I'm new to this. Fantastic. So what do you think, Scott? What's the best time to include disabled people in the design of the product rather than trying to make it accessible with assistive technology later on?
I think you should include all the important stakeholders from day one, right? From the first day you derive this idea to build the thing. Because there's a big monetary cost to doing it later as well, right? You might have to break everything you built because you didn't make it to be accessible and usable for people. Maybe they can't sign up with your email, system that you created. Maybe they can't fill out a form. Maybe they can't see the shopping cart on your webpage. I mean, there's so many things, right? So, um, so many things to think about, but involving from day one, and this is going to become a bigger thing in Canada, as we'll probably show you later. There's some new regulations that are happening over the next 2.5 years that companies are going to have to think about unless they're a ma and pop type organization and can't afford it. But that will come as well because we're so far behind most of the rest of the world in digital accessibility and overall accessibility, to be honest.
Here, and then would you like me to show that page, Scott?
Yeah, well, if you got it handy there, why don't you fire it up? Here's Luis in the background putting all the important links in, so that's awesome.
Right on.
That's all
Okay.
public content, everyone. So if you want to take them for your future reference, like there's no, inability to do that. There's no non-disclosure things you have to worry about. That's all public on the web. You can grab those links and take them with you and throw them in your toolkits.
There we go. All right. I'm setting. Oh yeah. Another interesting thing. Do you hear does it tell you when I'm putting the message?
Yeah,
All
it
right.
tells me the whole URL. So when somebody's posting stuff, if I'm in the middle of saying something and I don't want to pay attention to the chat, I can make my screen reader stop reading chat messages and that kind of stuff, or emojis or whatever is going on. So, but we don't need to because there's not really much traffic tonight, right? It's a pretty nice, small, interactive group. So that's cool.
And so one thing that I'm showing here on my screen, Doni, is this is a part of the key topic that we're going to cover on Saturday, the 28th.
Yeah.
What I'm showing here is a website from the government of Canada. Like that from your blog? No, this is the official thing. And it reads summary of the changes to the Accessible Canada regulations about digital accessibility. Now, this was updated.
Yeah.
When was it? Like
within the
December
last
20.
3 weeks we saw it. I think it's probably been online a little bit longer from what I hear from some of my other friends, but nobody else saw it until like mid-January. So even though they
There we
probably
go.
published it before then, this is when it sort of started to make the rounds. And there's a key phrase that's changed in here that I know Louis is going to highlight for you in 1 second.
Yes, it used to say everywhere. Even in the title, it read proposed changes. Our talk on Saturday had the word proposed. We're going to talk about the proposed changes. Guess what? They're not proposed anymore. This is happening. And this is related to, and I'm scrolling down on the page. And by the way, I love that it has a video with ASL, American Sign Language.
Yeah,
And
that's so cool.
I recognize, by the way, there's a new person. So that's when I knew, oh, there was an update. Before I even read the page, it was like, oh, they made a new video with another person. I wonder why. Well, it's a new thing. Anyway, so what the new digital accessibility rules require organizations to do. Now, I'm assuming here, so that it's very large and obvious in your screen. It reads, the goal of the rules is for persons with disabilities to have equitable access to jobs, programs, and services. Equitable. So that means you should be able to work, you should be able to do a bunch of things, and you have access to the products and services. Now, the key thing here, by the way, is who has to follow all the rules. All federal public sector organizations like Employment and Social Development Canada. Private businesses like some banks with 500 more employees. Private businesses like some feed flour seed mills with 100 to 499 employees. Who doesn't have to follow this? Small companies with 99 or fewer employees. But this is a page that I've read like 10 times and I'm still finding new things in the wording. Like the word private businesses that are under federal responsibility. Well, what does that mean? What's responsibility mean in that case? Like, what's that cover? So we're going to start learning more as well. But it gives you a link to all of the accessibility standards, right? So I'm going to open this link and I'm also going to paste it soon. But this is the CAN ASC 301549, Jesus. But it's accessibility requirements for ICT products and services. It's quite a read, right? I'm going to paste the link in a minute. But I'd like you to zone in on this date. This rule applies to any new web page they publish or update for the public or for their employees starting December 5th, 2027 for federal public sector organizations. Meaning, how long do we have left? A year?
Like a year, 21 months-ish, right, for that one. And then there's another even more critical deadline, which Louis going to scroll down to here in a minute, that applies to many, many other companies.
Exactly, which is December 5th, 2028. I didn't have to scroll down. They put it in the bullet point below.
Oh, they bulleted it now. How good, because it was in a different place before.
Yeah, and December 5th, 2028 for large and medium-sized businesses. And it has a bunch of rules for this, right? Who has to follow it, mobile applications. Hey, they added these new rules for digital documents. So, back to you, to the OSHA. For example, a PDF.
Yep.
So that's going to hit your team, right?
And it's still for any new content, right? So if you update anything on a web page, this is going to be applicable unless your mom and pop's pizza shop or furniture store down the street. Now, mind you, we're probably not going to talk about this too much, but there is a fully 100% inclusive Canada document on the books. By 2040, everything has to be inclusive for everyone in Canada. So just because it might not say John's Pizza Store on here in December 5th, 2028, by 2040, everybody has to comply. And that'll even be your small little, pizza shops, or that'll be people that don't have accessible buildings, or there's so many ramifications to this whole thing. So just to add a little context over the next 13 plus years.
So back to your question, Loui, do you want to include people with disabilities in the design of product rather than try to make it accessible later? According to this, yes, you do want to include them earlier because you can't just fix it without knowing how people use it. So you'll have to do quite a lot of research. You'll have to understand, well, which one? What accessibility can you focus on? Sight, deaf or hard of hearing, cognitive, psychomotor, all of the above?
Yeah, all the above, ideally, right? And that's where the decision makers of companies are going to have to start to think about these things, even in Canada. If they work internationally, they already are aware of this, right? And they probably already have been tapped on the shoulder if they're not doing a good job of digital accessibility. There are lots of lawsuits that are occurring outside the country right now for these things not being built to be accessible and usable.
Exactly. And they also, so the idea is that in this guideline, this is a summary, by the way, which is not, it even tells this is not a legal document. For that, you have to read the guidelines.
Yeah.
But we're just reading the summary for now, otherwise too much. And
otherwise your head will hurt just like ours. So
oh God, yes. Yeah. So then another key thing here is there's exceptions to the rules, right? Hey, historical items don't apply. So then it goes back to new pages or updated information. And then again, that's where the lawyer speak will kick in. Well, what's an update? What is considered an update? Is it just a change to a word, or does it have to be considered? So I imagine there's still going to be more details that we have to learn. However, they do have one thing here.
We're mirroring Europe, Louis. So when it comes to enforcing in this country, there's a whole bunch of that already happening in Europe, and sort of the Coles Notes version of it is any change to a web page after their date, which was April 28th, the new European Accessibility Act, which Canada adopted and didn't tell anybody. That's all where this is all heading, right? So the time will come when any change that's made to a web page is going to be subject to, a violation and potentially lawyers getting involved and all that kind of thing.
Speaking of
Anyway,
that,
sorry to cut you off, my friend.
No, you can cut me off. Because when you mentioned the word violation, right at the bottom of the page, because you're like, okay, so there's the rules. So what? There's some new rules. What's going to happen if you don't follow it? Well, the penalty amount for minor violations could be as small as $250 and as big as $75,000.
Now, there's a thing that they don't talk about on this website. They don't talk about harm to your brand and your reputational risk by not building things that are accessible and usable. So there isn't really a concrete way to measure that, or at least they haven't thought about that because it's not that far down the road for them. But those are things that, decision makers in every company level will ultimately be concerned about, right? If I have a grocery business and 25% of my people can't use my shopping cart, how much money am I losing because I didn't build something that I should have built to be accessible?
Exactly. I love that you brought up look at that. Great question, Leonie, right? And you're like, hey, I'm a college student. Great question. Like, do you have to do this? Oh, yeah. Let's say that with the economical situation that we're in, right? I mean, I was reading a poll today that a lot of Canadians are interested in doing more, have a free trade agreement in Europe or even becoming part of the European Union. It's a poll. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's just a poll.
No.
But let's say that happens. Let's say, and I really don't know. This is pure, we're fantasizing here. It's an idea. It's just a talk. Let's say that we have access to the European market, like freely. We can send our products, we can commercialize services, and vice versa. Well, how can our products and services compete if they have to meet a basic standard of accessibility that they have? So that's what for us, right? There's the motivation. If we make our products and services accessible, we'll be able to compete. We'll be able to grow. We have more market share. We have better positioning. Like it all grows. But how do you do that? Is by working with people from day one. It has to be included in your budget. You have to know, as your product or service, what key accessibility are you trying to include in your product or service? Why are you doing that? Do you have any disclosure of how are you going to be improving it? And right to
What's
add
your
more.
accessibility plan? You're answering Melissa's question already, Loui, without even looking at it.
No way.
Yeah, you're answering that already,
Yeah.
which is great.
So that's
Elizabeth,
Loui is so
hi.
right.
Hey.
So I mean that's the goal, right? Is to embed someone like myself in these organizations from day one to have these conversations and say, sometimes they're tough conversations, but say, no, you can't put this out yet because it hasn't been validated that it's accessible and usable. We haven't done any research. So great that you coded it, but we need to test it, and then we need to make sure that it works. And then guess what? When it does work, what are you going to do on your website? You can promote that, right? Hey, we built this thing that's accessible. Here's our plan. If we've missed anything, please let us know, right? Like set up a feedback loop so they can check in. And that's all people want to do. They want to feel heard and that we are giving them choice as a user.
So yes, that's so anyway, I do think that we're at a brink of something really interesting, especially now that these changes were approved, where we are economically, right? Where our possible opportunities are with other markets, but even internal in Canada. right? If we do more research with people and we bring people in from day one, we're literally going to be building a better future. Like that's amazing, right? I mean, where everybody can have access to programs from services, whether you need to use them or whether you need to participate in it and make money and also pay taxes. Right? There's a
Yeah,
bunch. You don't need to be receiving things. You can be participating and be taxed, right?
you should. But that's a whole another topic, probably not for tonight, is the lack of employability of people like me in the workforce. People just don't understand the unique value that you can add with a different skill set and a capability to talk about difficult things like accessibility and like, hey, we're going to a conference at this workplace. Oh, what have you done to make this a good experience for everyone? Well, Loui and I have lots of stories about how that's gone badly for friends of ours that haven't been able to do it for a whole host of reasons. But um, yeah, Leonie, to answer your question, yes, multitasking is super important, but it's also super intense too, right? Because you have to pay attention to a whole bunch of things as opposed to just one or two things or looking at your screen. So it's kind of an art, but um, if you're in meetings all day, for example, for like 7 or 8 hours, when the day is done with your meeting, you're done, right? Like you're not going to be able to focus on unless you have a like a hard set deadline where you have to get something done. Like you're kind of checked out at the point after all those meetings and talking to different people and refocusing with whatever topic is important in that meeting scenario.
If I, that reminds me of really good question. And this is something that I noticed when especially with us, Scott and I work together. We would record a few videos, right? As in try to provide a good analysis of the accessibility of a website. We would set the scenario, hey, Scott's trying to do a thing. And I remember the one about the library, the digital library.
Yeah.
You were trying to read a book. I don't think I ever saw Scott exhausted until like that day you were like really like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, that's enough.
It was brutal. We couldn't even get to like, yeah, like nothing on the task. Like you would think like it was trying to read a book online. Oh my God, it was so frustrating, right? And that's the thing. Not only uh, is using like multitasking, dealing with meetings, but also the memory. Scott has to remember a lot of things. And then on top of that, throw frustration of not being able to do a thing, and it just completely breaks your concentration. Like just your day's done.
That I know that most other users can do with much less difficulty and stress than myself and many other people with different disabilities have to go through, right? Like, why does this being able to look at a description of a book and be able to click on it and open it, why is it so difficult? Um, when they were designing this particular library site, um, why did they make it so difficult? Did they just choose the easiest path? Quite likely, right? Like, oh, we need to get this thing out so we can say we've got a way for people to access things digitally. Um, we didn't look at the timeline when this was done, but I would bet you dollars to donuts it was done during COVID, and just thrown out for people to be able to access. Presumably all people, but obviously that didn't happen.
And
Here's a tangent that everyone should think about. Remember the stupid ArriveCan app that we had during COVID? Anybody want to
we,
guess how accessible and usable that was?
sorry, could you remind me what that one was?
So if you wanted to travel, you had to use this mobile app called ArriveCan.
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah,
I've used that a few times.
yeah,
Yeah, I
what a
used to, it was
what
not
a
very expensive.
terrible invention.
And what
Yeah.
happened?
Well, it was completely unusable for anybody that had any specific disability or, any challenges with being able to see slash hear slash navigate the app. Oh, good. Luis is putting the scandal in. So I had a reason to actually travel somewhere at the beginning of that. And I don't even know how many people I reached out to and told them of the struggles of trying to use this thing. No, you should not miss a good scandal, Luis, ever. Um, and I actually got through to one of the quote unquote project leaders and was pretty much told that we're not concerned with, you know, anyone that is not part of the mass general population. We know this doesn't work, but we're not putting any resources into fixing it. And look how badly the whole thing went off the rails anyway. So they knew it was a pile of crap, but they should have had a workaround solution, which is sort of my point, which I left with them. If you're going to use this and you want to monitor everybody's steps and what they're doing, you have to find a way for other people who can't use your terrible app to be able to navigate and be able to do their travel. And eventually you just had to find loopholes if you needed to go somewhere, right? Like you ended up talking to a lot of people in the airport and they would just help you. And it was so stupid. But this is how our politicians work in this country. They're not the brightest bulbs in the room, right? So anyway, there's my tangent.
Okay. Now, one thing that I like a good tangent with a scandal. So Leonie says there's 2.5 billion people in the world who need assistive technology to interact with day-to-day work. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a massive market. And guess what? They have wallets. And they need to access products and services. And that's what a lot of companies just leave on the table. And I don't know why.
No, nobody has a good logical explanation. Not that I've found.
So it says, oh, I think you're right, Elizabeth. I believe we're moving in the right direction. This talks about and agree. Yeah, from day one, many things that seem obvious are not. An early inclusion prevent barriers. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Bang on
that's kind
assessment.
of, yes. And that's kind of like when we started about the bad system, right? It's and trying to build champions, but try to be very strategic if you want to do this. Try to be very strategic with who's this champion. If it's a decision maker, someone who handles budget, and then let them know, guess what? Did you know that in Canada, as of 2027, at the federal level, this is going to happen, and at the private level, this is going to happen, and by 2040, we have to do this, and how much money we're leaving on the table, and just hit that. Don't do it for like the goodness, like, oh, this is a good thing we should do. Seriously, like,
No,
if you feel
use the
great about it,
compliance piece, right? Like that's good. That calls people to action. So unfortunately,
exactly.
and I guess the other part of growing your village, everyone, is if you can find someone who has a disabled person that they have as part of their inner sphere, family member, close friend, those are great allies slash advocates to put on your team, right? Because they already know the struggles that their person with their disability goes through. So it's a great way to have it.
Oh, Theodosia, but hopefully I still pronounced it right. Oh, my streak's still okay. As someone who doesn't have a disability, how would you suggest I gain a better understanding of their experiences?
What do you think, Louis? Take this one first.
Oh man, I was waiting for you to do. You're
Well,
making me work
sometimes I got to
tonight,
ask you
Scott.
a hard question too.
Oh, this is where I feel like, line, please. Can I
Yeah,
call a friend on this
yeah,
one? It's like, you
yeah.
can do that.
Where's Regis
Um,
Philbin?
yeah, a better understanding, and this is what I love about the work that we do as designers, is especially with the word empathy, which was thrown around so much that I felt desensitized about it. It's like, oh my God, please. I'm tired of the word empathy. But swap that for humility. And then you start thinking, okay, I don't know how the lives of someone who has a disability is. How can I reach out to one of them? How can I actively ask within my network, hey, I'm trying to learn more about someone with this type of disability, or and try to reach out to those people and literally just ask questions. Like, guide me through your day. What's the most annoying thing in your day? And they will tell you, oh my God, I asked that question to Scott about
Yep.
2 years ago. I asked him, I think it was like, hey, what are the most annoying things? You gave me 10 within 15 minutes. Like, oh my God, I wasn't prepared for that. Like, just right off the bat. And it's that question, right? It's, uh, you can read books as well. Like there's one, for example, if you're like, hey, well, I don't know, you want the one that I recommend is it's Canadian, and I have it right here because I was ready to promote it. I don't get any money from her. One of the things like, oh my God, you getting a
We know
kickback
her,
here?
but we
No.
don't get any money.
Yeah. It's Emily McCrae. And the name of the book is Living Disability, Building Accessible Futures for Everybody. It's Canadian. It has a lot of stories from very diverse people, diverse disabilities. Paul said in Canada is an amazing book. So you can read the book, you can try to reach out to people, you can ask questions at the designer, hey, try to find a problem. What's the most common problem? Well, what's the metric that you can improve for them if they want to? Like, hey, you know what? This drives me nuts. Why are companies doing this? Um, Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out for that book. Just a bit of an analogy back to the sort of the question about, involvement and what if I don't know anybody? Um, Chances are, right? Like, think of it as even just not necessarily like a job interview, but networking, right? If you're perusing LinkedIn or whatever platform you're on and you see that, person identifies they have a disability, guess what? To pay it forward, most of them are going to be happy to give you 15 minutes to just have a convo. Because you never know what that turns into, right? Um, you do a good thing for others and reciprocates, and who knows, you might end up partnering on a project, or maybe your company sees the value in that human and says, hey, wait a minute, we need to do something with this human and bring them in because there's a value to add a unique perspective that you can bring into the organization. So like Loui said at the beginning, just ask, right? Never know unless you ask.
And I have an interesting story of I'm gonna share it here as well because it blew my mind when I read it a few years ago. Okay, I'm gonna put in the link, Scott. So I'm gonna put in the link in there. It's going now.
Yeah, it's going.
Okay, and let me just share my screen here. I'm gonna share my screen so you can see it, and it's also in the recording. But it reads, it's this article from 2021. King creates free app that makes Disney films more accessible. King. And I think she was, if I remember correctly, the story is that she was at an airport. And then she had some time to when she was stopped there. Then she started thinking, like, hey, how come there's no sign language
Yep.
in movies? How come? Um, I read this story and I thought, yeah, this is actually a really good question. Like, how come it's we don't have that? And there's this. She created I think it's a plugin. It's a Chrome plugin in Disney Plus. And now I told I sent this article or an article like this one from a friend of mine, and he because a family member is deaf, and my friend said this is a game changer. I was blown away by that. Like I just read this article, sent to him, and now this family member can understand movies, like some specific movies. Otherwise, you can't. You don't know what's going on.
Nope.
So it's amazing, right? What just curiosity of like start questioning the world. How come this is not there? Right? I don't really know the backstory of like what got the team to think about this, right? But um there's also the Purdy's, the chocolate. I don't know if you've heard about that one.
Oh, somebody's phoning me, guys. I can't grab it, so hang on. I don't know if I can get mute just a sec.
All right, I'll
Well, we'll just have to put up with the annoyance. Sorry, it's gonna go to.
it's not too bad though. I think. Oh, you muted yourself. Okay. So let me show you one. Wow, you're a popular person tonight, Scott. He's laughing. Okay, I'm sharing my screen, Scott, and I have this is and it was recent to March 4th, 2022. Thinking outside the box, how Purdy's is making chocolates more accessible. This is an interesting article because when you think about it, yeah, sight impaired people just you didn't know where you're gonna get, right? Scott? Are you good? Like, is your
Oh yeah, I'm
phone?
good.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
okay.
I just listened to your story, man.
Um, so yeah, I'm just having. I'm just showing the Purdy's chocolate, and I'm sorry if we're on a bit of a tangent. But I was thinking about that question, right? Like, hey, yeah, how do you talk to these people? We said, being curious, read books, you read these articles. Pretty soon it's going to be mandated by the government, so we'll have to do it. So you probably want to be more curious. But in the case of the chocolate, bear with me. Can you tell us, Scott? I'm going to stop sharing. Like, how was it? Like, do you have any favorite chocolates? Are they ones that you don't like?
Well, of course, but often for sighted humans, you know how they don't label them all that well, right? That's even worse for someone who's visually impaired because you have no idea what's on the within the box. They haven't told you the legend in any kind of way you can digest.
And just think about it for yourselves. Like, there's a few flavors that I don't like. And
Yep.
man, and sometimes I don't read it, right? Because I can be lazy, like, let's see what this is, and I'll find out later. But hey, if there was a way for me to recognize it before I eat it, even though I can see, I'm just being lazy, well, that'd be nice. But it's these little things that, hey, if you can see, well, how do you know it's there? Um, and it's just a chocolate box, which, I can say I have this thing as well that I've thought about is um, with some boxes that are not labeled, and if you have any dietary restriction, you don't know because there's nowhere to read on the box or on the website or whatever.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's getting more common, right? With people trying to cut corners and save a few dollars on their packaging and all those sorts of things. But sometimes it's really hard to find out if there's things you need to worry about, dietary restrictions.
Um, Another thing that might help, and I'll go back to your question, Noni, and if someone else has a question or you want to jump in, please feel free. It's like, oh man, those guys can talk. This is the evening, right? Imagine how we are in the morning.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that just related to like the challenges, as you read more about it, it's all about exposure. If you don't have anyone who has a disability in your life, well, yeah, you're probably not going to think about it. But you pick up a book or there's a really good show as well on the BBC. I'm going to try to think about it. It's about the deaf community. It's a really good drama, and but try to expose yourself to others, right? Like someone who's completely different than you in this with a disability. And once you learn more about it, you'll notice yourself thinking about them in your daily life. For example, when Scott and I started working, and I remember I told him like, "Hey, Scott, I went to the gym," and that's when I learned that Scott was a Paralympian.
And then we talked about how inaccessible the gym is with all the new technology, which we talked about for like an hour.
An hour of just the gym, and I was like, "Oh man, like you're a Paralympian. That's amazing!" And you multiple sports, right?
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
your
Yeah, swimming, goalball, cross-country skiing back in the day when I was young and fitter than I am now. Although shoveling lots of snow helps you stay/become more fit in the winter.
However, you gave me really good tips with how to stay fit. It's like, oh, which I really appreciate that you were telling me do this, do that. Like, oh, actually, you know something about it. You're a Paralympian. I've never been that.
Yeah, it
So,
was fun. Traveled a lot of cool places, met a lot of neat people that you still stay in touch with. And guess what? You have a lot of opportunities to better yourself for your professional career if you chose to use all the resources that we had access to as Olympians back in the day, um,
and,
back before it was really publicized like it is now.
and the thing that was interesting in that day when we talked about that was as I was using treadmills. And by the way, I'm not trying to be like, oh, he's a gym bro. No, it's like, oh, yeah. Some of them will be like, he goes to the gym. It doesn't look like it. I know, but when I was using the treadmill, I realized, oh wow, this is all digital. Like there's no way Scott will not be able to use this at all. And then it turns into the question, how would Scott use this? I wonder how. And then you start looking at all the equipment around you and you realize, oh my God, I don't think this is like very accessible at all. And then we
Nope.
started talking more about how back when you were a Paralympian, now think about this. He was a Paralympian before. What are the chances that you, or how much, what would be the support you would need to become a Paralympian? Let's say you're super young again, the magic happens,
Yeah.
and
Flashback.
then you're right. You Benjamin Button this, and you go back to the gym. And what we were talking about is how less accessible it would be for him now than decades ago. That blew my
You'd have
mind.
to modify your equipment or you'd have to have a group that you go with, right? Bunch of people to support because that's just how stupid the system is. And that's only one example, guys, right? Put your thinking caps on for different scenarios you might come across that in, right? The gym is just one example.
Exactly. And then we were talking about also the community. Like it's a nice thing. It wasn't because you nailed it. You go with other people, but how are these gyms like able to build community? Like, does it have a safe space for anyone to just walk in on their own without a helper? Because that's the thing. Oh yeah, you can come in here if you have a helper, but what if you don't have that? And one thing that I loved about your story, Scott, was that how you talk to people who are able-bodied.
It's part of spreading the word, educating, right? Like getting people to think about how someone might do it differently than them, right? So, and people are curious most of the time. They want to understand why the thing that you do is important to you, and you'll find a few people that really care and want to make a difference and make it better for others. So that's, part of being a good human, building your own village.
Yeah, that conversation still think about it. And when I still use the treadmill today, I still think about it. Like, how will he use
Well,
it?
still broken as it was 2 years ago when we started hanging out with each other. Hasn't changed.
Um, and for example, think about as you guys move through. And sorry, I'm still staying with your question, Leonie. Um, oh, and there's a new question from Leonie. Let me wrap this up, and then we'll get to your new question, Leonie. So yes, uh, you can challenge yourself, and maybe um, if you're driving, if you're walking, if you're using your phone, and then you realize, okay, try to think, well, what if I can't, if I don't have one of my senses? What if I can't hear? Or what if I can partly see? How would I be able to use this? And you can start with yourself and just thinking, yeah, how would this work? You can probably go down YouTube, a rabbit hole on YouTube. There's probably some people who've made videos there. There's probably a Discord community talking about
Oh
it.
yeah, there is for
Is
everything in the
there?
world these days. So why would it be any different?
There you go. Do you go on Reddit, Scott?
Only when I want to get annoyed by the amount of useless content that tries to interrupt the thread I was trying to read. So not often.
Right. We had this issue, you and I, in with LinkedIn. I promise I'll get to your question in a minute, Leonie.
Oh,
We
I'm sorry,
like I would
that's no more questions. Just kidding.
yeah. But I remember, so Scott and I, we had a thread going on LinkedIn, and he told me, you know what? Can you just email me? Because it was just really hard for him to read it.
LinkedIn likes to scroll, right? How much content is on LinkedIn? Everybody think about that.
Yeah, very hard to navigate.
Yeah.
It's hard to use it, right? Like even if you even being able to see threads, you get tired. You lose like where was this again? Where did I click? How can I get this back? Oh shoots, I didn't save this post. It's gone.
Yeah. How am I going to find it? And you really go down the rabbit hole, even worse than YouTube.
So we all have the same problem, right? All right, let's back to Leonie's question. What if the inclusive design costs more than oh sorry, STH? I'm really bad at acronyms.
Something, I guess. Something built, I
Oh,
guess.
okay. Thank you. What if the inclusive design costs more than something built for the so-called majority? What would be better option? Making accessible devices separately from the product for the users who don't need assistive tech? Or merging both the tech together with a potentially a bigger cost? Please don't say it depends on the situation. Oh man, she knows she's speaking to designers like, well, it depends.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does depend because it depends on what kind of budget and how quickly your project has to be pushed out, right? So most often, though, you won't find people going for alternatives specifically for certain types of technology and that kind of stuff because they just don't have the money or human hours or technology to be able to build it that way. So unfortunately, most companies go for the quickest solution and they hope that they can make it usable for as many as possible. Um, so they can market whatever product they're trying to market or sell whatever they're trying to sell. And then if they find that enough people complain about it later, then they'll pull it down and potentially try and fix it. I can probably count on one hand the number of times I've seen a company build a separate experience for people with different full-on technology needs, right? That doesn't include like font size or the scripted videos or that kind of thing, right? Because those aren't separate experiences. Those are just embedded in what's already there. Um, there used to be more companies that were doing this kind of work that they would build something specific for people with screen readers or cognitive load kind of thing, but now it's all just become unfortunately lumped into one and they if they have a focus on accessibility, they grab as many of the different groups of people with disabilities as they can. But um, sadly, guys, it's all about the money buck at this point, right? And by Canada changing the regulations, this is going to have to start get people thinking about this from embedding it from day one in all your processes right through to the end.
Right. And if I may add, continue adding to that. The so one way related to the fines, right? So this is one way that you can get the thing that you need built. And that would be, do you want to risk a $75,000 fine? That's the maximum, but you also have to get lawyers.
Yeah, that's
And
going to
that's
cost
just
you a lot more than $75,000.
and then what happens when you get the second violation
And
and
what
the third
happens when
one?
someone posts on, and this is more important than any violation or lawyers, what happens when someone posts on social media how crappy your website and your experience is and you didn't build anything that's accessible for anybody. What's that going to do to your brand?
Or that you're not trying.
Yeah, you don't have an accessibility plan, right? Like that's going to cost you a lot more than any lawyer's fees or the violation dollar amount. So some of
And
the companies outside Canada get this, and that's why they do a good job at it, right? So they have realized that the 2.5 billion people who want to be able to participate fully are valuable. So inclusive design is good design, bottom line, right? That's the most important thing to think of.
yeah, exactly. It's the teeing up. So sorry, what did Leonie say? Oh, weird. Thought I saw something and then it just disappeared. It's like, oh, dude, what's in your tea?
Yeah, I didn't catch it either. Leonie, what were you typing in?
That's okay. We'll you can add it later if you're like, oh no, change my mind. But it's like in that thread when someone deletes the message, it's like, oh, we all saw you deleted it.
Yeah.
But that's when my family throw that at me all the time on the threads because I'm always deleting messages. It's like, no, that's not what I meant. Anyway, let me show you one thing though, that will help you well with inclusive design costs. So as we said, once you start adding the cost of damage to reputation, how much you're going to be hiring lawyers, you might as well just build it right from the start. And that might help you. Oh, am I still on?
Yeah, you're still here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You were so quiet, like so still, Scott. I thought, oh my God, my internet just.
Oh, we might have froze for a second, but you're all good now.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. And here's a story that I like to use. And if you know all about the design thinking, and you've probably heard this before. I'm sharing one link. I'm going to paste it in here. I'm going to send the link right now, Scott, and send. And that is behind the design, Oxo's iconic good grips handles. You can read this, but the photo that we see there. So in the photo, Scott, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 products. Like start with a prototype. The bottom one looks like a box, right? So it looks like very primitive, like it's just a handheld device for a peeler. And as the other handles, they improve, right? Until you get to the top one, which is the one that you sell. But they're all like, one is wide, looks like a rectangle, and then the second one starts taking more shape. The third one has a bit of a hole. The fourth one has an extra grip for your thumb, and then that gets you to the last one, which is all black and probably the one that you have in your kitchen if you have an OXO
Yeah,
peeler.
if you have that company.
And this is the story, and you guys just give you guys can read it here, but the 1 minute story is Betsy Farber. She had arthritis, right? So psychomotor or motor, right? So a motor issue. She couldn't cook. She couldn't use the. I think she loved baking, and her husband was a retired sales executive. They started working on the grips because she was just tired of always of being in pain. One thing that Sam, and this is a key thing, as they created more prototypes and they were iterating, he knew if the OXO peeler was a specialty product placed on the top shelf of the store, no one would buy it. So the positioning there was key. Hey, what is this thing doing? Well, guess what? It helps everyone. If you were 5 years old, if you have arthritis, everyone benefit from this. So they both design something that anyone can use without getting into specialty. And once you hit that universal design, that's great. This is what Scott said, make it accessible, make it inclusive. Like, more people use it, it's a win-win, right? But that takes a lot of design, asking good questions. I'm going to stop sharing. Takes bringing up good questions from the start, not while you're in the middle of your project and then someone says, "Oh, is this accessible?" Can you imagine them? Start with like really hard prototypes, like, dude, she can't use it. Like, she has arthritis. Can you imagine halfway through the process they thought, "Hey, will everybody be able to use this?" That was from the start, right? That was their vision. I think Leonie, there was
Good
another
story, Loui.
message. Yeah, sorry. I just said risk analysis could prove them. Whoever thinks it, yeah, it's risk analysis. You're right.
Yep. Proof of concept for people that aren't familiar with risk analysis, right? So, or business case would be the other term you might want to attach to it.
Value proposition.
Yep.
Hey,
Value prop.
if we create this thing and more people can use it, well, how can more people use it? What does that mean for us? Well, it could be more money, more engagement. It could be more people can use it. So we're doing the world a benefit. But you can hit the money most of the time, right? So when in doubt, talk to the what do you call them? Bean counters.
Yeah, bean counters. Talk to them about the bottom line, right? How much more money
They're
you can
people
make.
too.
Yep, they're people too. They want to make money. They want their shares to increase in value, unfortunately as that is, but they want their stock dividends to be higher.
So if you design a thing that more people can use it, so you start talking about market share and positioning, and do you need to re-engineer this whole thing? Probably not. Right.
Might
I
have to
think that's
tweak
probably
it,
what.
but it probably won't have to start from scratch. But you might have to start from scratch if it's really been not well iterated or thought out to start with.
An amazing thing, by the way. I don't think I can show this link to you, but it has a lot of swear words. But you can Google it. It's a developer who.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Tell us more about it, Scott.
He very, very, I'm trying to think of the right term. He's very descriptive towards his disdain for a particular way of things being coded / developed. And he takes some very good shots at different types of code and people that think that their code is great, and it's really not so great. But no, we should not share that here.
No, there's a lot of swear words. Seriously,
Yeah.
every single sentence there's swear words. But
At
he's
least
talking
one.
about how HTML works.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, you don't need to add all of these programming languages on top of that technology that is already accessible. You can do
It
commerce
works.
through HTML. It's accessible. Why would you do? And that was his whole point. And that's why I think why I sent to Scott, because I thought, oh, he's going to laugh.
Yeah, and we did a lot. Yeah.
Any other questions? Do you guys have more questions? I didn't even go through half my presentation, by the way. My
No, you're not
conversation
allowed.
starters. It's,
Yeah.
Why are you shutting me down, bro?
Yeah. No, I think you guys know where to find us. Luis knows how to get a hold of us, so there's always lots of good info, and come and check out the UX Bootcamp, and Louis going to share how to get a hold of us and all that kind of stuff here. I'm segueing for you.
Yeah, I did.
Bring up your screen.
Thank you. Yeah, I have my conversation started here. How do site pair people read web pages? I was just thinking, like, what if no one knows, right? Like, what's a screen reader?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you mind? Can I just ask you one question, Scott, and then for everyone? Because I think it's a good one. It's our 1.3. Just so that we all know. Can you tell us, Scott, what is the most annoying thing when reading websites that are not designed for screen readers?
Yeah, nothing's labeled. There's buttons. there's graphics, links aren't clickable. Those are really the big important things, right? If there's a form you have to fill out to participate or sign up, it's not been set up. Those are kind of the most important things. That doesn't even talk about whether you can buy something successfully or load a shopping cart or any of those kind of things. But those are kind of the top 4 or 5 that are super blockers that block more than just screen reader users, right? Because what if you haven't done a good job? The latest thing that now seems to be getting some traction is website overlays. And anybody that wants to go down that rabbit hole, just jump on LinkedIn or go search the European Accessibility Act. Companies that are using overlays, whether they're AI generated or built by humans, they are not accessible and usable, and they're losing cases in court. That's just a thing that started to populate over the last couple of weeks. So there's some research for you to check out, Loui, when you have time on a weekend.
Oh man, why you make me work more?
Oh yeah, you hate it, except that you love it.
You know me very well.
Yeah.
It's like, what? More drama, right? Maybe I'll bring Luis in this. Maybe we can do a
take
book
Luis
club.
alone down the rabbit hole because he likes research too. So
Here we have a coffee date, Luis, on the weekend. It's like, do we?
you do now.
And yes, and you know what? I would say another thing. So what Scott is mentioning here is key. What he just described are basics of web page development, basics that should be there. Why are they not there is the question, right? So what happened in this process that everybody's just going through different technologies and you ignore foundational, standards of accessibility, and they're in HTML. Just label your buttons. How hard could that be?
Put a description of a graphic, right? Put an ARIA tag. Like, how hard is that? Make your links clickable. How tough is that? If you put a modal on your web page, which can be super annoying sometimes, you better make a way so screen reader people can get out of it if they don't want to navigate and use it.
Exactly, that's the close button. So that when you design something, then you just put the little icon with an X, but it's not labeled. So A, Scott won't know that that's the close button. B, anyone else? Does that mean cancel? Does that mean delete? Does that mean minimize? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, simple stuff like that, right? It's not, to use the old phrase, it's not rocket science.
Nope, it's not. But geez, it does feel like it. Like, isn't that the basics?
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I had a few conversation starters as you can see here.
Take care, Melissa. Have a good night. Thanks for coming out.
And let me go to where we promote things. Sorry, I'm using Word. Like, really? See, I had some color there. So yes, our shameless plug, and I think we started with this at the start anyway. You can come to our UX Camp talk. We're going to dive in more into the implications, so it's going to be more business related. You kind of got the teaser of what we're going to talk about. And if you want to, we have a 10% discount code called Thanks Scott Loui. So it's in there. I'm going to type it in the chat as well in case you're like, hey, I don't have, I'm going to put it in there. In case you want to use it, go ahead or someone and you forgot your Valentine's Day, buy them the ticket. I'm like, oh, really, dude? It's like, did you pull a muscle with that one? Yes, I did. I did pull a muscle. Oh yeah, I forgot to get your code, your LinkedIn code, Scott. I just realized I have yes. I'll tell you why. You know what? I used it in my phone. I don't know how to do it on the website, but on the phone, it can generate a QR code for you. But let me bring up your page. Okay, so give me a second.
I bet Luis has it handy, knowing Luis.
Working on that.
Yeah, I knew you would be. He's almost got it.
It's like, shoot, he got me. Let me see. I gotta find I have by the way, I'm sharing my screen and I have like 30 tabs open. I have a tab problem.
Yeah, high memory usage.
I know. And I'm like, what if I close one that actually really needed it?
Oh, there. Luis got it.
You got it? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Luis.
I'm going to stop sharing.
No worries. Also from a
Oh,
website, Scott has a entry in Wikipedia of the Olympics in 1984. So
Oh,
I
you
can share
found it,
that
buddy.
too.
Oh, good searching,
Yeah.
brother.
no way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Don't place it over here. So you can check it out.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Leonie. Thank you,
Yeah, you bet, Leonie.
Theodosia, Zach,
Thanks,
Roland. Thank you very
everyone.
much for joining in. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you, everybody,
Yeah,
for
this was awesome.
joining us this cold night. And thank you, Scott. Thank you, Loui, for. I think this is. I love this kind of conversations, right? That it's highly educational, but also it's so relaxed that doesn't feel like it's an instruction, right? It's
Yeah,
just
you just hang out.
a very easy way to ease in into a topic that sometimes we don't even know how to start, right? And I think that's the way that you expose it, right? It's just get closer to the topic, get closer to the people, find your tribe, celebrate the small wins, and
Yep.
yeah, just keep on learning, keep on doing what you're doing.
Right on. Virtual high five.
Oh man, I missed it.
Okay,
I
try
should have seen
again.
that comment.
Yeah.
But
Just
there we
okay.
go.
Well,
Yeah.
I need to make a bit of a sound, something like a.
Yeah, there's gotta be something to attach to the emoji. As
Yeah,
I
I'm
always say,
self-high-fiving.
friends, before I sign off, see you soon. Little blind man humor for you,
Oh,
right? For those that are
that's,
still
by
here.
the
Thank you so
way,
much for everybody.
oh my God, there's another person that we work with. After spending a lot of time with Scott, I realized the type of humor that he has. Like, you like to laugh, right, Scott, and not judgy. So we started to develop like a really dark humor. And when someone else joined in our meeting, he was terrified. Like you should have seen his
Yeah.
expression sometimes. Like, why are they talking like that? Like, because it was very fun. Like we
Yeah.
built this report already, right? I mean, we're not. It's
Yeah.
like I
It
said,
was good.
it's something that it's also covered in that living disability book, like how people with disabilities, to make it through the day, you have to have a really like sense of humor. Otherwise, you just what do you do?
Yeah.
Like the great
Otherwise,
great
how
bunch
are
of
you gonna
people to
cope?
hang out.
How are you gonna live if you don't
Exactly.
have a sense of humor?